Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'll be walking you through one of my most recent photo shoots. If you saw my latest video where I walked you through how I shot these photos using only one light, this will kind of be like a part 2 to that video, but feel free to watch them in whatever order you prefer. If you didn't get to that one yet, you can watch it after this one. Because I'll be showing you the rest of the behind the scenes from that photo shoot, so I'll be walking you through kind of what I was thinking in the moment, from the gear I was using to how I set up the lighting, posing, all of it. So let's get right into it. So this setup was right after the setup from my previous video. So we have Isabella in that same outfit, which is that black dress. The setup included a white seamless backdrop, a disco ball, and then my Profoto A2 with a click yellow gel, as well as a click snoot. These are both magnetic accessories from Profoto that you can add onto particular flashes of the same size, like the A1, the A2, and the C1. The yellow click gel in this instance just changes up the color of the light to a yellow hue, while the snoot that I was using directs the light to create a spotlight effect, which is perfect for this setup because we want to have all of this light aimed right at the disco ball to create those really cool reflections. While I was setting up the lights, I also noticed that the reflections weren't completely enough to light Isabella, so I had to sort of get her in line with the spotlight as well. I also thought of kind of bringing in some natural light to light up the overall scene a bit, but then that would kind of lower the intensity of the reflections, so I kind of opted not to do that. It's also really great that Isabella is a dancer, because I feel like I had to ask her to maneuver herself around the ball and the light, and it was pretty tricky. I also threw on a cross-screen lens filter onto my lens for some of these photos to create a little bit of that star effect that you see. And yeah, I ended up really liking these photos. So for this next look, we had Isabella in this really bright yellow long dress, which I loved. Whenever we shoot together, we work on the different outfits that she's gonna bring to shoot with. But at this point, I feel like she knows my photography style so well and what I prefer to shoot that she always comes through with these really nice long gowns, and they work really great for different types of movement, especially when she's dancing. At first, I had her up on this ledge against this window and lit her from the side with an RGB panel because it was pretty backlit behind her, but I honestly wasn't loving how this looked on camera. So in this case, I just had her come down and sort of sit on the ledge, and I like these way better. Studio lighting and just photography in general is always so much just trial and error. You could put so much work and effort behind a photo shoot and the planning of it, but you won't actually know how it's gonna turn out until you get there and deal with the actual elements, from the lighting to the location. So I just try to not feel too bad when things don't go my way, because it's kind of inevitable. So again, I liked these photos but wasn't loving them, so I switched on over to a different part of the studio. I went back over to where the seamless backdrops were and pulled them up actually, so she was just against a black wall here. And then I brought in my RGB panel light once again to light her with just a warm white setting. From here, I had her do a ton of different movement with the dress, from different spins to kicks to kind of like lifting it up. The dress was kind of like almost heavy in a way, so it fell really nicely. And for this, I just made sure to have my shutter in continuous mode to capture all of the movement that was happening. I wanted to be sure I was capturing Isabella from head to toe, but I also wanted to make sure I was using my 50mm lens. I just felt like it would look really good with this setup, so I had to stand pretty far back to get her and all of the dress in frame. And with the continuous shutter, I captured so many photos, so this was a little bit to go in afterwards and really sort through what looked good and what didn't. But yeah, here are the results. This next one was super fun. Isabella came through with this really nice dress that had a ton of sparkles on it, and I feel like something like this always photographs really well. I also brought all of my lens filters, of course, so my brain was already kind of working through how I could create that really cool star effect that you always see and that I used previously with the disco ball. This time around, I was using my 35mm f1.4 lens, so I just made sure to lock on my cross-screen filter here. I kept all of the seamless backdrops up to utilize the black wall once again, and then also brought in this white cube cube for Isabella to sit on and play around with. This always gives more opportunities for the model to play around with, and I feel like it just makes them more comfortable because they have something in frame to work with. For the lighting, I used my Profoto A2 once again with the click snoot on. This time around, I didn't have any gel on, so it was just outputting its standard light, and I just shot away. The star effect from the dress's shimmer would differ from photo to photo depending on how it was hitting, so I just made sure to take a ton of different photos to make sure the shine was coming through on at least a few of them. I also had a ton of fun with the edit on these. I feel like this overall setup came out pretty simple with the kind of soft spotlight lighting up Isabella, and the black backdrop made room for me to play around a lot with different textures and gradient maps. So here's how they turned out. I also shot some of these photos within the same kind of circumstances, but just without flash. So the same outfit, lens filter, backdrop, and all that was lighting her was just some of that natural light peeking through some of the studio windows. And so here's how those ones turned out. For the last setup, I used this cloth backdrop that the space had to offer. I really shoot with backdrops like this, but I absolutely love the variety of textures and colors that you can get from these. I feel like especially if you're shooting at a wider aperture and have your subject a few feet away from the backdrop, you can almost get a painterly feel from how the cloth is draped because it starts to blur a bit. But Isabella had also brought this pink dress with her. She came through with all the dresses. She literally brought an entire suitcase. I love her for that, but we thought this would be nice to kind of complement this purple backdrop. I had set one of my RGB panel lights to light her from the side here and set it to this nice warm glow. I was also shooting with another lens filter here. I was using Prism Lens Effects' Lucid Dream filter, and this created a really nice glowy and dreamy effect to all of the photos, which I feel like really just added to the overall energy and the vibe of all of it. I kind of used to think that within photography, everything had to be super sharp and in focus, but I've come to realize that that's definitely not the case, and you can make decisions to have a photo be kind of blurry and dreamy and it totally work with what you're going for and not take away from it. I think it's just about being intentional with when you're using these filters or applying a different edit to kind of have that effect. Here I had Isabella try a bunch of different poses here, but we definitely noticed that a lot of her poses while on the ground look better. So we opted for a lot of those this time around. We felt like these were kind of giving like an elevated 90s prom vibe just with the backdrop, I guess. But yeah, here's how they turned out. Alright, and that concludes all of the final photos from this shoot. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you had a favorite setup from this shoot, please let me know in the comments down below. But let me know if you want more videos just like this one by giving this a thumbs up. I always have links to all of the gear that I use throughout my shoots down below, as well as links to my photo book and my prints. But yeah, I'll see you guys very soon. Bye.